Buongiorno e benvenuti a Valentino's Ristorante Sardegna. So welcome to our brand new YouTube channel for Valentino's Ristorante Sardegna. We are a restaurant in the heart of Cardiff city centre and we're a family run restaurant. One of our classic signature dishes which we do in the restaurant is called Culurgiones. It literally means in Sardinian little bundles of joy. And what they are is almost like little pockets filled of creamy potato, fresh mint, pecorino cheese in there. Now I'm going to show you the recipe and how we do it in the restaurant today, and if you'd like to follow the recipe at home, by all means give it a go. Okay, so let's go through the ingredients that we need for the culurgiones. So to start with the actual pasta, we need semolina flour. It's from drum wheat, so it's not the same as the typical white flour, the 00 white flour. Just use that with a touch of olive oil and some water, so there's no egg in this pasta dough. So for the filling we just use potato. Today I'm using Maris Piper potato because I want that nice light fluffy kind of potato. Then laced into that potato we're using fresh mint, and then we add in some pecorino cheese. Traditionally that dish is usually served with just a simple rich tomato pomodoro sauce, which then I'm going to put just an onion. Traditionally they use a garlic, but I'm a bit more of an onion kind of person as opposed to garlic. So I'm going to put some onion, Italian tomato passata, some fresh parsley, and then some fresh basil. On the hob I have my potatoes peeled and I put them into tepid room temperature water. So then I put them all on the fire together so the heat can get into the potato and cook through the potato and cook nice and evenly. Obviously the shape of the potato, I try to keep them all even so they can all cook, again, evenly. I put a touch of salt just to season the water. The worst thing is bland potato. Whilst that's cooking on the fire, we're going to get on with the pasta dough. Culurgiones are crafted by hand. When I first started this recipe, I used to make everything by hand, and I still do sometimes. But obviously for the volume, we make the dough here, then we got to let it rest, and then we extend out the pasta and we start making the culurgiones. So what you also want to do is you actually want to season the flour as well, and what we're going to do is slowly put in the water until we get the right texture and consistency that I want from the dough. I need it to be elastic, but I don't want it to be too elastic where it's going to break. I need to hold its texture and hold its shape. The worst thing again is unseasoned dough. Seasoning is everything. Slowly I'm just going to add in the water. Bit of time, let it do its thing, you know. I'm just going to add a little bit of olive oil. So I want to add a little bit of fat into the dough because it gives it a nice elasticity to it, and obviously another touch of flavour. Then as I'm going, I just keep adding in the water until we get to the texture that we need. So as you can see, the dough is coming together and it's doing its thing, it's mopping up the side, and it's going to come together in a nice dough ball. After that I give it a little knead by hand quickly, and then we let it rest for about 30 minutes. Okay, so just want to give it a little quick knead. Just want to see where we're at. Okay, so I'm just going to coat that a little bit in flour now, and then I'm going to wrap it tight in cling film. And I'm going to leave that for 30 minutes to let the gluten in the flour just completely relax so it's easier to work with, and then we're going to start extending it out. In the meantime, the reason why I put the potatoes on first is because I actually want them to cool slightly before I can even do the filling. So the potatoes should be done, I'll drain them, and then we'll add the condiments. Once I've drained the potatoes, I'm going to put them through my potato ricer. My potato ricer basically just makes sure that there are no lumps. Nice, smooth, light, fluffy, but creamy potato filling. Okay. Whilst this is still warm, just going to add in more or less room temperature butter, softened butter there. Then just for a couple of minutes, keep the heat, and I'm going to let it melt slightly. In the meantime, I'm just going to chop up some fresh mint. Just go through it twice. That's going to be our fresh mint there, which we're going to lace into the potato. un po' di pepe nero, pecorino, menta fresca. Once the butter is infused into the potato, ora ci mettiamo un po' di pecorino. And then mix that in. Just going to taste the salt. Oh, splendid, fantastico. Fresh mint. And what the mint does, just freshens up the mouth a little bit, the palate. E questo è il ripieno dei culurgiones. So the pasta dough is still resting, we got another 10 minutes. Ripieno is done. Now we're going to get on to the salsa di pomodoro. Dice the onion, then we got some fresh parsley and basil we're going to chuck in right at the end. I'm not doing a big amount, I'm just going to do half an onion. Take off the outer layer of the skin, that's the harder bitter one. In the middle. No. That's all I want. So, onto the fire. Bit of olive oil. Let that heat a little bit. Then we're going to put in our onions, sweat them off. Then I'm going to put a touch of white wine in there as well. So, when they start softening, slowly browning, just a touch. And then I'm really gonna let that concentrate down, reduce it, so I can really just burn off that alcohol and leave this kind of fruity bit of aroma and taste to it. We're currently in a lockdown still. Hopefully we'll be open in another 4 to 5 weeks. In normal circumstances with our pomodoro sauce, we cook it down, let it reduce for a good 4 hours, 3-4 hours, to really concentrate and lock in that flavor. This is obviously a quick, simple pomodoro sauce, which is just going to complement for the culurgiones. The alcohol is burned off. We're down, it's going to turn into a nice lovely little glaze. And really flavored and textured as well. The onions. So now, it's time to add in the pomodoro. Let that come together. Just a little touch of water. So when we brought that back up to a simmer, we're just going to season a little bit. Salt. Black pepper. What I really want to do now, I want to keep it on a medium to low heat, if anything. I really want to concentrate it and bring that texture down into a nice thick tomato sauce there. And then we're going to add in the parsley and then later on the basil. Like I said, when we open and we make a lot of pomodoro sauce, to be honest, a lot. You can imagine, Italian restaurant. We slow cook it. Anything cooked slowly at a lower pace always comes out the best flavor, and that's how we usually do it. Also the quality of the tomato. Again, under normal circumstances when the restaurant is open, we use these amazing peeled Italian tomatoes, which we import from Italy. Everything's shut down at the minute, so we haven't got that option right now. But we import our tomatoes from Italy, and then we slow cook them down, and then we blend them into a fine puree, basically, and that is our tomato pomodoro sauce for when we open. Buonissimo. When you cook out the tomato, you're also reducing that acidity, and I don't want any acidity in this. Actually, I want the tomato to be nice and sweet, which can also come down to the quality of the tomato as well. But for something like this, where I haven't got those options, I'm going to make this tomato a little bit sweeter afterwards. I'm going to let the acidity come out, reduce down, and then add a touch of sugar just to bring out that sweetness. I'm just going to blend it quickly, just for extra smoothness. And we put it back on the fire. Whilst whilst we're cooking this down and reducing it, we're going to get on with making the culurgiones. I don't want that to dry out too much, so I'm going to wrap it back in the cling film. So I'm going to flatten it. Just to help it pass through the machine. So we put it through the first one. Then we just fold it over like a letter. Repeat the process. Until we get the desired shape to cut out rings. And I want to bring it to about a 4 or 5 thickness. It's a little bit thicker so it can hold the shape, because the way we gotta crisscross over. And do that one more time. And then we slowly adjust one at a time. That's the right thickness there. So I'm just going to pass it through one more time on the same setting. And that's a strip of our dough. From this point, cut our rings. You can also reuse this dough again if you wanted. You just knead it again and use it one more time. It'll probably go a bit too hard and dry if you would use it 3 times, but you could get away with twice. So there are rings. Put the filling in and close them up. So we have our potato. You take a little bit, make it into a little taco. Then you fold in and pinch. There. We push, side, press. Side, side, press. 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 Until we get this wonderful culurgiones. Little bundles of joy that taste incredible. One. They're done by hand. You can see that they're done by hand, and you can tell they're not factory made. Every little culurgiones has its own identity. The theory is that they are supposed to resemble a grain of wheat. Back in Sardinia in the old days, a lot of people, they're all farmers. This is kind of what it symbolizes. The pasta of Sardegna. Bam. Stunning. It is quite a knack, it's quite a skill to it. You know, the first time I ever tried to give these a go, it's frustration. But the more you do, the better you get, like anything. It's just practice, practice, practice. How wonderful is that? I'm gonna make 2 to 3 portion. Myself and Ken behind the camera will be eating them. No doubt it's gonna taste wonderful. And one more batch, then we put them in boiling water for a few minutes, and then we serve up. So I took the tomato off the heat a little bit just to stop it from reducing down. This is the texture that I'm looking for. Nice, rich, smooth pomodoro sauce, which tastes incredible. So all I'm going to do now, water here, ready to boil. I'm just going to chop up some parsley. I don't want to go through it too much because I want to retain its flavor. Otherwise a lot of it comes out on the chopping board. That's fine. This is going to go in. Just going to put a touch of sugar in there, just to help sweeten the tomato. Literally just a touch. Then just before we're ready to serve, I put in the basil. If you put the basil in too early, the basil's likely to go black. As soon as the pasta is ready, I put the basil in, mix it around, let it infuse into the tomato, give that amazing basil, and then we serve the pasta and we're good to go. So we also want to do is season the water. Here, nice and slowly. 1, 2, 3. So they're in the water. I just want to move them gently, just so they don't stick to the bottom. And they'll let you know when they're ready. They start floating, coming to the top, and it only takes about 4 or 5 minutes. Doesn't take long.
Down and I'ma get it right, dead on sight like been down and I'ma get it right, dead on sight like
Okay, that's how we put together our Culurgiones, signature classic in our restaurant, Valentino Ristorante Sardegna. Hopefully we can bring you dishes every week and videos every week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.